Reverend Natalie Jean, and this is the Emma Curtis Hopkins movement once again. Today I wanted to talk about judging people. And the reason that this topic came up is because I was on Facebook and somebody posted something against what somebody else had written. And basically it was a teenager or a young adult that had written something about judging people, about being, comparing the kinds of sins that they were judging. And I've seen that before, and it's basically a joke. But the other person replied and went off on a tangent on the judging thing. Oh, we shouldn't judge one another, yada, yada. And so I replied to say, but the fact that you are saying something to this person is saying that you're judging what they've said. You don't know why they've said it. You haven't asked them why they said it, but you're judging them according to what you think the interpretation should be about it. And so the person responded to me in this long-winded explanation of things and got very fiery and very angry. Yet this person presented himself as a calm person. He calmed in demeanor. Now he hasn't emailed me back because I said, we need to see people as whole, perfect, and complete. It does not matter what people say. It does not matter what people do. And you know what? When you get hired into spirituality, you're going to learn this big thing called forgiveness. You're going to learn about how you can cope when terrible things, errors, and challenges seem to come up in your lives. I feel for people that go through things like the Sandy Hook, people that have children that are missing, people that have people that in their life that are murdered, people that have had people in their lives that have quote-unquote diseases. I feel for these people because they're faced with some kind of tremendous thing within their system. How do they cope? And if they are spiritual people and religious people, how do they really cope? Is the first thing that they're going to feel anger? Or is the first thing they're going to think about is God and forgiveness? If we look at the story about Jesus, Jesus went through a lot. Jesus was spat on, he was beat, put a crown over his head, and finally nailed to a cross. He endured brutality, beyond brutality, and yet he could face these people and say, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He had no hate, from what I understand. He had no anger. He could still see God in these people's faces. And the irony is in the story they tell you he was he was nailed right next to two thieves. This is the place that people believed that he should be at that time. Isn't the irony? It's almost like these people believed that he had stolen something, that he had no right to be what he was preaching. And yet he was only preaching that he was the Son of God. Not the only one, but he was a son of God. We are all children of God. We all have God in us. Even molesters, even killers, all these people. But what the differences in these people is that they have stayed toward the darker side. And I'm not talking about evil. I'm talking about a dark side. When there is no light, they can't feel that light. They can't even see the light. They can't even understand it. So that's why we come into this incarnation. Light bearers, people that want to study spirituality, people that want to help people, seeing some people through. I'm watching this show called The Following, and it's a very fascinating show with Kevin Bacon and this other character. And there's something that he said that made me understand certain things. And the character is a killer. He kills women. But he tells his ex-wife, he says, I can't help it. But I understand what I am. I have this insatiable appetite to kill. And when you listen to him, he says he can't help it. Some of these people out here, that is their mindset. They can't help it. They are conflicted inside. But don't think that these people don't know that what they're doing is wrong. But they have this insatiable appetite to do harm. Why? They are on the darker side of things. Now let's imagine that you and I, or a spiritual being, whoever, that's in the light comes towards these people and tries to get them to a place of understanding. Tries to see them. The thing is, they tried to see them and know that God is the only thing. God is the only thing that can be right there with them. God is the only thing that they can see at that very moment.
Call from private callers.
That is the very thing that they can see
Call from
is God. That's how you use treatment work. That is how you understand treatment work. This is how you work with treatment work. This is how things work out. When somebody comes to you and they say, this is my difficulty. This is what I am going through. The first thing you are going to do is you are going to see that this person is God. You are going to only understand that this person is God. You're not going to be able to see anything, but know that this person is God. Whenever they come to you with any kind of problem, you're going to see that this is God. You're not even going to acknowledge that that person has anything, has any error, has any illusion, has anything going on with them. It is also the same thing when somebody comes to you and they say, well, I have this disease. What is your first thought? Your first thought is to deny that very existence. You don't even hear what they're telling you. This is where you come to do not judge by appearances. Do not judge by words. Do not judge by the things that people are telling you. That's why I tell people if they are given some kind of diagnosis, you can't give in to that diagnosis. You can't give in to any of those things because it simply isn't true. Now, you have to work with a serious mindset to understand what is true and what is not true. You have to understand your oneness with God. You have to understand your connection to the universe. You have to work for it. Nobody says that when you come into this incarnation, you're not going to work. But God will tell you, you do not have to labor. You don't have to push yourself so far that you're killing yourself to get abundance, to get prosperity, to get satisfaction, to not be judged. It is painful for me to hear or read when somebody calls themselves a sinner. This is brainwashing that's been done by, I have to say it, Catholicism. You go into the church, they tell you you're a sinner. Then why do we sit there and take it? Why do we sit there and take it? Because what they do is that they embellish the aspect. They embellish the things within us at that point where we don't feel good about ourselves. And they're just affirming that, yeah, we're sinners, we're no good. And that they are the only people that can make us, that can bring us out because we got to suffer. We can't live happy lives because that's not what God wants. That's false. God wants us to be happy. On my radio show today, I talked about the aspect of fasting. I don't know where this aspect of fasting came from, really. I think there may be some little mention of it in the Bible, but I cannot believe that a God would tell you, don't eat, suffer, have hunger pains, so that you can get closer to me. Emma will always tell you that you don't have to fast to become spiritual. You should already be spiritual. Fasting does nothing for you except for maybe you want to release some stuff out of your system, but it doesn't bring you closer to God. You bring yourself closer to God by opening your third eye, by bringing the invisible to the visible, by feeling everything that God has told you that He is. That is how you bring God closer to yourself. But by not eating, drinking only water, juice, this, that, and the other, the idea is a beautiful thing. And I'm not telling people not to fast, but I'm telling people not to fast to become spiritual because that's not how it works. You could fast all day long and be a nasty, negative person. You're still not going to get inch closer to God. God will never be away from you. But it doesn't give you a higher set of evolution and illumination. Because your whole system has to change. Your mindset has to change. You can't judge others. You can't be nasty. You've got to be loving. And I mean love all people. Love all people. Judge not according to appearances. Take the time to listen. Take the time to learn. Take the time to uplift. And most of all, take the time to love. Namaste.